Welcome to our very first official BeachCastNC explainer. We are absolutely thrilled to kick this off with you. Today we're taking the latest, incredibly detailed surf metrics data and translating it into literally everything you need to know for your Oak Island trip. Whether your vacation rental is all the way up near the Oak Island Pier, which, some of the longtime locals out there might still call the Yo-Pon Pier, or you're situated all the way down at the west end by the point, we have got you covered. So let's dive right into this.
We have a ton of ground to cover today to make sure you're fully prepared. We're going to start by charting the rough waters with the red flag alert for this weekend. Then we'll look at the beautiful green flag column rolling in midweek and see how the surf builds back up by next weekend. After that, we're unpacking a really fascinating local weather phenomenon called the invisible rain shield, and we'll wrap the whole shebang up with some absolutely vital beach and pier safety rules.
So jumping right into this weekend, July 10th through the 12th, and well, spoiler alert, it's going to be incredibly rough out there. Looking at the data, it brilliantly illustrates the 10-day journey of our waves, and it's basically a giant roller coaster. We're seeing a massive initial spike right now for this weekend, pushing up near 4 feet. But then there's a steep, highly anticipated drop as we head into the midweek, before making another dramatic climb by the time we hit next weekend.
Let's zoom in on the exact numbers for this weekend because they matter. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that we are looking at 3 to almost 4 foot short period surf. A 6-second wave period means those waves are coming in fast and choppy. Honestly, it's going to feel a bit like a washing machine out there. This is all driven by relentless onshore southwest winds that are heavily exceeding 20 to 25 knots. Because of this powerful energy, you need to anticipate red or even double red warning flags flying at the rescue stations all weekend long. Also, keep an eye on those tides. Low tides are hitting midday, with high tides pushing way up the beach in the late afternoon. Simply put, this is not the weekend for a casual, relaxing swim.
But hey, if you are looking for that perfect, relaxing beach day where the kids can actually splash in the shallows and you can float without constantly fighting the current, you just have to wait out the weekend. Just look at the dramatic transition we see in the surf metrics data heading into next week. Now, Monday stays a bit bumpy with a yellow flag, and Tuesday actually sees a quick spike from a passing system. But look closely at Wednesday and Thursday. The ocean calms down beautifully to green flag conditions. We're talking about the surf dropping well under 2 feet and those howling winds just dying down to a light 3 to 10 knot breeze, shifting gently from the south and east. Thursday for sure is looking like an absolute postcard perfect day on Oak Island. As anyone who spent a good amount of time on the Carolina coast knows, nature really doesn't stay quiet for long. Let's take a longer-range look at the following weekend. By July 17th through the 19th, our long-range models are showing the surf building right back up. We're back into the mid 3-foot range, those gusty southwest winds return, pushing up to 24 knots on Saturday. Because of this returning energy, conditions are leaning heavily toward red flag warnings once again. So, the big takeaway? If you are planning water activities, you're definitely going to want to prioritize getting them done during that calm midweek window. Okay, now that we know what the water is doing, let's turn our attention upward. We're going to explore why the skies over Oak Island often behave so strangely during these exact types of summer weather patterns. Here's a question for you. Have you ever been sitting on the sand, watching a massive, dark storm on the radar head straight for the beach, only for it to seemingly hit an invisible wall and completely vanish just as it reaches the shoreline? I promise you, you aren't imagining things. This isn't just luck, it's a very real meteorological phenomenon that the locals know incredibly well. It's known as the sea breeze rain shield. Essentially, this is a phenomenon where coastal storms just dissipate or are forced to stay inland. Why does this happen? Well, the incoming marine air from the ocean acts as a literal atmospheric boundary. It completely prevents those heavy convective rain cells from surviving over the beachfront. This powerful sea breeze circulation essentially builds an invisible protective dome right over Oak Island. Let's break down how this invisible dome builds dynamically. First up, we have thermal gradient heating. On a warm summer day, the land surface heats up much faster than the ocean water. Next, to balance out this pressure difference, a dense, cool mass of marine air pushes onshore. And finally, you get the lid effect. This dense, cool marine boundary layer acts like a dynamic lid over the beach. Because it's cool and sinking, it literally starves the approaching storms of the warm, rising, unstable air they desperately need to survive. The storm just completely falls apart right at the water's edge. So, compare the two scenarios. Inland, maybe just a few miles away, that incoming sea breeze front is plowing into the warm terrestrial air, forcing it violently upwards and actually intensifying the thunderstorms. Meanwhile, right over Oak Island, that cool marine air is sinking downward, keeping the beachfront totally dry under mostly clear skies. This perfectly explains why it can be an absolute torrential, day-ruining downpour just 10 miles inland in Southport or Supply, while you are sitting comfortably on your towel on Oak Island without feeling a single drop of rain. Pretty cool, right? Speaking of sitting on your towel on the sand, we need to transition to something even more important than keeping that towel dry, and that is your personal safety in these highly dynamic weekend surf conditions. With the rough, red flag surf we just talked about for the weekends, open beach rip currents, and we're talking both flash and channelized rip currents, are a near certainty. You absolutely must know how to handle them. First and foremost, stay calm. Rip currents do not pull you under the water. They only pull you out away from the beach. Never exhaust yourself by trying to swim directly back to shore against that moving water. You just won't win that fight. Instead, swim parallel to the shoreline until you break free of the current's pull and then swim at an angle back to shore. If you get tired, float on your back, face the beach, and wave for help. Now, if you are planning to swim anywhere near the ocean piers, I want you to burn this specific number into your memory: 100. You must take 100 big steps away from both the Oak Island Pier and the Ocean Crest Pier before ever getting in the water. Why? Because the physical structure of the piers completely changes the way the water moves. Pushing waves and swift, channelized rip currents naturally form right around those pilings. If you're too close, these currents can easily sweep you right into the support beams, which, by the way, are covered in razor-sharp barnacles and crustacean growth. It is incredibly dangerous. Measure out those 100 big steps and keep your family safe. Finally, 2 quick but absolutely crucial rules for the island's survival and yours. First, protect the sand dunes. Walking, running, or playing on them is strictly prohibited by the town. Not only are these dunes the frontline defense protecting the island from the very storms we talked about earlier, but they're also full of hidden hazards. We're talking buried fencing, sharp shells, and tough vegetation that can easily cause severe cuts or ankle injuries. Stick to the over 100 marked public beach access points. Second, the town strictly enforces a 12-inch sand hole ordinance. If you or the kids love to dig, keep it shallow and always fill it back in before you leave. We definitely don't need anyone falling into a crater on a moonlit beach walk. Armed with this hard data, from the 4-foot weekend chop to the 1-foot midweek glass, and the knowledge of our unique local ocean and atmospheric dynamics, you are totally ready to tackle the week ahead. So, knowing that this week's forecast ranges from turbulent red flags to a tranquil midweek calm, how will you safely plan your Oak Island adventure? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you out on the sand.